This is Technically Legal, a podcast about legal technology, innovation in the legal industry, and the impact tech is having on the law. I'm Chad Main, the founder of Legal Services County Percipient, and on today's show, I talk with PatSnap's Matthew Veale about the future of AI and patent searches. This episode is a conversation with Matthew Veale at PatSnap. PatSnap's an app that provides users a platform for doing patent searches. On today's show, Matt fills us in about his journey from private practice to working at the UK Patent Office and then joining PatSnap. PatSnap recently rolled out an AI component to its platform, and Matt explains how artificial intelligence has made patent searches much easier and can reduce years of knowledge down to a quick 10-second search. He also tells us why he thinks AI can analyze images faster than humans, classify them better than people, and he also explains how AI can help attorneys overall by speeding the time it takes to understand patent data and help them have better communication with their clients. But fear not, Matt doesn't think AI will replace humans anytime soon.
When I first came out of university, I wanted to blend together both my law and computer science background. So I found myself at the UK IPO, which seemed to be a great place to be able to go, you know about law, you know about computer science, let's have a look at inventions, both of them together. So I was at the UK IPO for 2 years. I worked on a lot of computer implemented inventions. I also did some things in measurement, such as oil well drilling, etc. So I got quite a rounded education there as well. And absolutely, I'd suggest anyone who wants to be an attorney, start at the patent office. Patent officers won't like me for saying that because they lose all their better examiners. But, you know, it's a really good grounding and learning from that regard. So yeah, I went into private practice and I worked for a couple of firms. And in both of those firms, I started to use patent analytics tools and get really interested in that side of things because drafting and prosecution, litigation, they're all really important areas, but strategically is really important as well. And that's one of the things that wasn't really top of the priorities for many practicing attorneys, but actually can help your clients progress massively and then in turn give you more work to do, which is also what happens when people go in-house. They start to learn more about actually the nuance of the strategy and what you're trying to accomplish, as opposed to, can I get this patent granted? So having used PatSnap for a few years, I thought, what better place than to go to source and work for PatSnap and shape the tool and work with the clients here. So it's been a great career progression for me so far.
What's your official title at PatSnap?
My official title is Senior Professional Solutions Consultant.
Tell us about a day in the life. What are you doing there? How are you working with the customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm involved in the end-to-end process. So if you're a customer that already has PatSnap or a customer that wants to get PatSnap or become a client from a professional services point of view. So I'll be there involved in every step of the process going, how do I bring an analytics platform into my daily workflow? What is it that I need? Which tools do I want? What am I hoping to achieve? And we can guide you through that process and say, actually, you'll need analytics, which is the base platform just to do all your insights on all the patent data that you've got. Or maybe you need chemical, or maybe you need synapse because you're working in drug discovery. Maybe you need discovery because you want even higher level insights into market research and reports in that regard. Once we've dug into that and we've set you up as a platform customer, it's getting used to the tool, and that's always good as well. So the old adage is, bad workman blames his tools, but this is a really good tool and we've got some really good work people. So we're going to make a really good product at the end. And that's what we're doing with the clients day in, day out. Sometimes on the professional services side of things, they come and ask for me straightforwardly, can I do a patentability search? So I've got a new invention. Is it patentable? Go away and have a look. Same thing with freedom to operate. I'm taking a product to market. Tell me about the risks I might face. Or on the broadest, scale of things, I'm going into a new technology. I don't know anything about the landscape. Tell me who's there, what are they doing, what are the filing rates, etc. Where are they filing? What are they innovating in? Give me all that sort of information. So everything and anything in the world of analytics and information and consultancy.
You run into someone at a party, you tell them you work at PatSnap, and they say, well, what's PatSnap? What's the company do?
It's very much the same way as, when someone asks me, what do I do? The simplest way is to say I'm a lawyer. I work in the law, and that's what I get. The next question is then, what area of law? Patents. And then people know what that is. And they're like, oh yeah, I know that. I've seen that on Dragon's Den or Shark Tank for your audience.
Yeah.
Have you protected your invention? And, are you going to be able to market it going forward? And that's where they sort of understand the intersection of the real world and IP. So going from there, you say, actually, when you go and search for anything you want, you pop onto the internet and there's a big company called Google and you type in what you want. When you have ideas and you have patents, You go on and you look on PatSnap. And PatSnap tells you everything you need to know about patents and IP in general, and it makes it simple. So that's really where we're positioning it. I think that's the easiest way to explain it.
AI is going to definitely, obviously, impact what everybody does, but it's also going to impact what you guys have been doing because it's a real opportunity to kind of expedite and make these searches more efficient. But before we get there, I want to talk about the various searches that go into securing a patent. So number one is you got to look for prior art. You got to look for other patents to find out if your invention already exists. And you already mentioned it too, you're going to look at the competitive market. So am I missing any, or are those the three main ones?
I'd say they're probably the main ones. You can probably break it down quite simply into first, is my patent inventive? Can I get a patent on it? The second is, can I take the invention and that product that invention is into market, which is freedom to operate? And then finally, all around patent landscaping, which is who are the competitors, who's out there, all the analytics, get all that information. So yeah, that's probably the three main categories you can put it into.
Let's talk about back in the day. How did you do this? Or how, even like 2 years ago, how are these searches being conducted? And then let's move into how AI is going to facilitate even more efficient and quicker searches.
Absolutely. I mean, we can get into the semantics of what the AI is and how's it helping, and what was the big change last year in the terms of generative AI stepping forward and really revolutionizing the field again, and what we used to use with AI light in historically. If you go back far enough, in examiners, they were looking through reams and reams of paper going, this was the patent, I'll highlight it with a pen. You step forward again, all that became onto a computer. And the way to search that then was to use Boolean type searching. So your ands, your ors, your nots, there's classification schemes attached to all these things which help as well. And now that we've got AI, what we're talking about is semantics. So you no longer have to be skilled in understanding the nuances of classifications or the nuances of synonyms, or you just say it in words and up comes probably the closest thing you're going to find. Even 10 years ago when we first started searching, we were saying that for the most part, you'll find what you're looking for, the closest thing to it, in the first search. It'll be there. But actually, what was important to do the search is your due diligence and make sure that you have an auditable trail of saying, I did this search, I did this search, I did this search, to make sure I haven't missed anything. And that's where the skill is, and that's probably where the skill will remain. But actually, that first step to get 90% of the way there has been made so much easier by AI.
Tell us how that works. How's the AI making it so much easier for you?
So we have a semantic search at the moment, which is how most things work, natural language searching. So you don't have to put Boolean operators in. You can just say, I want to search for mobile phones. And if you know about patents, people will never, or patent attorneys don't always use the word mobile phone. They'll use any different way of saying it's a synonym, a handheld electronic device or telecommunications module or anything else. You don't need to then type out every single synonym. You just ask the AI, and because it's been trained on patent data and language, it knows what the synonyms are because it can pick up that semantic meaning from being in sentences and knowing what's the likely next word or the next token, as it might be. And then it brings it all back very quickly, very easily. So it's taking all those years of skill and knowledge that we have and putting it into one quite quick and easy system. So taking everything that I knew in 10 years and put it into 10 seconds.
That search you're talking about there is finding out if a patent exists already for the idea you have, your invention, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not an IP lawyer, so when I think of prior art, tell me if my understanding is right. Prior art it could be a piece of invention that already exists that if your idea is similar to that, it can't be patented because the idea is already there. Is that a kind of a good layman's way of thinking about prior art?
Yeah, effectively, because you can split it between the two parts, subjective and objective. So the objective part of it is novelty. So has it been done before exactly like it was? Has it been published, enabling in any form, whether that's in a patent application, whether it's on a blog post or a video or anything in the public? That's exactly the same. That's novelty. The next bit we get to, which is a bit more complicated, is subjective, the inventive step, the obviousness, Section 103 in the US. And that takes a person still. But because we have the semantic learning, you can see things that are similar quite quickly, and that does come back. So, you're going to get things that are ranked in terms of it's exactly the same, and then these are things that are similar. And that's how you do the two levels of, questioning whether your new thing is going to be patentable.
Okay, and so if you're using AI to do that, is it better at identifying prior art that the human may not have thought to look for?
That's a really good question. So there will be anecdotes from history where someone went, I just knew about this thing from some random obscure conversation I've had that I knew I would find it over here. And AI is very good at depth. It struggles a little bit with breadth when the topics are quite diverse. But when they're similar, so for example, patent data, and we have an LLM trained on patent data, if it's in the patent data, it's going to be able to draw those links probably better than a person and definitely quicker than a person. So where I would be sat there for 3 days doing a prior art search at the examination office going, I was trying to get a patent through and I wondered why they found all these random documents. It's because someone like me once sat there and went, I'm not giving up until I find that piece of prior art. I know it exists. I'm going to find it. But obviously there are, points of efficiency that officers have to take into account and everything else. And AI just crunches this right down to be able to go, here's the best of the best straight away. And if you find something afterwards, they say only 1% of patents are litigated and very few percentage of patents are granted and only very few of those are litigated. So you might not have to do can I go and uncover everything and look for the needle in the haystack that might have been missed later on. The AI is going to find pretty much everything straight away.
So if using AI, does AI search the images and therefore can find stuff that a human may never have found of because it wasn't textual similarity, but it was a similarity in the image itself of the idea and the invention?
Absolutely. And I think, what we're talking about here potentially is more likely design patterns. And that's where images becomes really important. And yes, I've done design searching before as well. And you have to sit there and look at everyone and click next, click next, click next. And again, an AI with image analysis understanding can determine what's a corner, what's a shape, what's a face. And it can come back a lot quicker than you'll be able to do it as a human. And it's much better at pattern recognition than people are.
We need to do more with less. That is the key takeaway nowadays from almost every survey of in-house counsel. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if you actually could do more for less? By combining legal expertise and technology, Percipient enables legal teams to get more work done for less. Buried in contracts and sales is frustrated with turnaround time? We can help with that. Did you just get hit with a subpoena and reviewing 100,000 documents and files will tax your resources or cost you a small fortune in billable hours? We can help there too. Our team of legal professionals leverage tech and project management principles with the right amount of human oversight to deliver precise, efficient, and cost-effective legal solutions. Whether it's legal operations and contract management support, subpoena compliance, or document review, Percipient is your partner in really doing more for less. Percipient. Legal services powered by technology.
We'll get back to my conversation with Matthew Veale in just a second, but before we do, I want to direct you to tlpodcast.com. At that website address, you'll find an episode page for this episode and every episode that's come before it, with links to more information about our guests and more information about the stuff we talk about. If you want to get a hold of me, you can catch me on X or LinkedIn, or email me at cmain@percipient.co. That's C-M-A-I-N at percipient.co. All right, let's get back to my conversation with PatSnap's Matthew Veale. So when you were an examiner doing these image searches for design patents, how would you even know where to look? I mean, I assume, obviously, let's go back to your idea of mobile phone, cell phone. If that terminology is used, cell phone, mobile phone, you're going to do the search, it's going to pull up the related applications with the images. But what if somebody didn't say cell phone, didn't say mobile phone, called it something else? How would you as a human even know to look for that patent and the image itself showing the invention?
So thankfully and historically, someone very smart had the idea to classify everything. So if it comes into an examination office, it's given a classification scheme, whether it's the Locarno classification for designs or whether it's the IPC CPC for patents. So you have a good starting point there. Sometimes they get classified wrongly or not quite what the end output's going to be, but for mostly it's already got a classification scheme attached to it. Doesn't mean there isn't an awful lot of documents under mobile phones and you'll still have to sit there and look through them, but you can add some keywords to them now, and we're moving that way in the future by being able to have more data about things. You can have semantic meanings, you can have keywords, etc. That help you narrow things down, especially if they've been passed to a platform like PatSnap that has done a lot more additional value-added work than what you'll get in the patent office, because we're working with the end customers that need to see these extra value-added features, such as being able to translate smart images, tags, and stuff, so that you don't have to go, oh, it says 31. What is 31? It's already on screen. It says 31 is this member, so you know what it is.
Going back to the categorization, I don't want to say it becomes irrelevant, because it never would. But to AI, the categorization is less relevant, because let's just stick on my questions about looking at the actual images itself. AI doesn't care. It's just going to look at the data, and if it sees something similar, it's going to kick it back out.
Yeah, absolutely. And even more than that, because the AI is looking at all the data, it can create its own taxonomies. So within PatSnap, we do have IPC and CPC, which are attached via examiners, so skilled professionals making sure they know where things go. But what you also find with IPC and CPC is they are not built for people outside the examination offices, really, or people that are practicing in patents all the time. So they're quite granular, quite difficult in terms of wording. So what we have at PatSnap is application, domain, and technology topic, which is a new taxonomy, which is derived from a few different parameters within the patents, which is actually more sensible. So instead of computer programs being under G016F, whatever it might be, it's going to be, say, graphical user interfaces. And it's a lot easier to find. I'm looking for graphical user interfaces than G016F.
Explain to laymen like me that don't practice patent law the role of a competitor search and what a competitor search entails.
So a competitor search, we'd probably attach that to what we call like a patent landscape and competitive intelligence. So people talk about patent landscapes, but they never come without competitive intelligence. They're one and the same thing. So what you're doing there is you're saying, I have a technology area. It might be some sort of medical devices. So what we're going to do then is pull back all the data that we have about those medical devices, and we'll use classification codes, keywords, semantic searches, AI, the new taxonomies that we've created to bring back all that data. And then you have all these patents. And then you have to sort of start to understand them by using an analytics platform such as PatSnap. And to do that, you would have been, user heavy, crunch it all, ask it, and do the things by hand effectively. Say, I need to do this filter and this filter to look at this area, and this filter and this filter to look at that area, and see who's filing where. Find analytics. So I think I've used before, the way of understanding it this way is sort of, you start with data, and you have an analytics platform, which is PatSnap version 1, let's call it, that takes that data, turns it into information. Information is good. But the next step is getting knowledge for that information. So, for example, who's filing where? So then you have PatSnap version 2 with its AI, and you can ask it a question such as, where is Microsoft filing its most recent patents, and what are they about in semantic terms? And then it comes through. And then finally, you have the knowledge to wisdom step, where someone like myself or other attorneys still have their day jobs to go, actually, we know that's what they're doing, but why? And that's what we can answer. AI is going to get there and help it even more, but still that position for skilled users.
And so how is AI going to help? How's it going to augment what the actual attorneys are doing?
It's speeding that step up. So as attorneys, the majority of what we do, or what we did, is communication. At the end of the day, it's communicating to the end client, here are your options, this is what these mean. And AI shrinks that knowledge gap effectively. So it brings them up to speed and allows you to communicate with them in a much faster fashion. It doesn't take away the skill that you need as an attorney to help them make the right decision, but it allows them to understand what their options are a lot quicker. What do we mean by that? So, for example, you could take all that data that you have and say, here are the people filing there, this is what they're doing. Here's another competitor of yours, this is what they're doing, here's another competitor. Here's the potential that you can work around. Here's the potential that you can license. So those commercial considerations are still going to be the remit of the attorney, but everything before that, knowing what everyone's doing and what it means, the AI is going to help.
So let's fast forward 5 years. How do you think AI will have changed the practice of patent law and patent examination?
So I think what we're really looking at mostly is a shrinking of the timeline for a lot of what happens at the moment. So patents, as you know, they don't publish for 18 months. And then after that, there's an examination process that takes a long time unless you accelerate it as well. What I think we'll see is reduced timelines because examiners will be able to examine faster and give back those search reports quicker. They'll also be able to review new changes quicker. So that process will speed up as well. I don't know that the 18 months will change. That will still be there, and there's good reasons for that. But that process afterwards of sometimes waiting 5 years to get your patent through as you go through rounds and rounds of amendments, that's really going to be sped up as well. So the whole way along. So you have your R&D guy, he's inventing something and I don't know what I'm looking at. I've made a good new idea. Before they even come and talk to an attorney now, they can go on PatSnap and they can go, oh, what's all the patents that I can use? What can I learn about? And know all that stuff before I get to an attorney. Then they get to the attorney and they're already so far along that process. They've saved themselves time. They've upskilled themselves. They've helped the attorney really understand what's their niche. What are they looking at? What should we claim? And that then in effect goes to the examiners, who will use an AI to search it again and probably come back with exactly the same results and go, actually, you found all the prior art, well done. But here's our view on it from a legal point of view rather than technical point of view, or technical and legal if you have to sometimes decipher what the claims mean or what they're trying to protect. It will just speed up that whole process dramatically, which should increase the rate of innovation, which is always a good thing.
So that's an interesting point there, the increased innovation. The question comes to mind then is, do you think that there will be fewer patents issued because AI is finding stuff that the human examiner wouldn't have found before the generative AI was available?
I don't think that's the case, no. As an examiner, I don't want to think an AI will have done my entire job for me. It will help me speed up my job. But yeah, I don't think it'll find things that you wouldn't have found because you would have been doing that due diligence anyway, and that's the skill. So it's, as I said right back at the beginning, there's two parts still. There's the novelty aspect, which is objective. Is it the same? And then there's the inventive step of obviousness, which is subjective, which I don't think the AI is there to do yet, because you have to ask a few different types of questions. For example, one of them is spotting the problem. An AI can solve a problem if you give it the problem, but you can't solve a problem it doesn't know about. And that takes a person to go, actually, this is the problem. And therefore, that's the invention. So you don't want to get into the weeds on academia around what's a patent, why is patents available, and should we have a 20-year protection for all these sort of things and everything else. But there are bits to it that make it so that the AI is not going to take our job fully.
Well, that's good. Well, Matthew, I appreciate your time. If people want to get a hold of you or learn more about PatSnap, where do you want to send them?
Send them to the website, patsnap.com.
Okay, that's a wrap for today's episode. As always, we really appreciate you listening. If you want to subscribe, you can find us on most major podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, etc. Also, if you like us enough, I hope you leave us a favorable review. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, this has been Technically Legal.